if you accept the blame, if you say right away, if you've decided, yes, we made a mistake, if you own that from the beginning, it can really diffuse everything. Because once you've told me that you admit that something went wrong and it's not okay, right? That's not okay in my mind. There's nothing really that they can go on about.
Hi, Elevators. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Coach Christina Romero. And on the podcast today, I get to talk to Dustin Meza of WP Engine, where we talk about providing quality support, dealing with nightmare and difficult clients. I'm sure you've had none of those. And we also get to chat about the upcoming WordCamp US, in which he's a lead organizer, and all the cool stuff that they're going to be doing. So stay tuned.
This is the WP Elevation Podcast, helping WordPress consultants elevate.
Hi, Elevators. I'm here with Dustin Meza, who is the Customer's Experience Operations Director at WP Engine. And he's also the lead organizer at WordCamp US, which is in Nashville this year. And that's where you are.
Yes.
That's right?
It is. Yeah, that's where I live, Nashville.
Is it hot there today?
It is not bad. It's in the 80s. So pretty good day.
Yeah, that's a good day. Well, tell us a little bit about your role at WP Engine, like what you head up, your responsibilities, and then we'll talk more about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like you said, I'm the Director of Customer Experience Operations at WP Engine. I've been there 4.5 years. So I've seen it grow from very, very small to very big. I was employee 47. So along the way, I've done a ton at the company. And so right now, my focus, me and my team, I have a couple of different teams that work for me. We are really focused on the customer experience, and every single thing that we do inside of WP Engine, if it touches our support teams or our customers, my team is involved, and we ensure that we're building that in the best way possible so that our customers can have a seamless experience and use our platform, the way they want to use it.
That's awesome. And I actually just got off the support chat right now. And if they weren't going to help me, I was going to tell them I was going to talk with you in about 5 minutes. So I'm just kidding. It was wonderful. It worked out great.
That's good. That's perfect. Good.
But so that's a really great segue into what we do a lot at WP Elevation. So we have a lot of people who manage customers. Even though they're our website clients, they're very much customers. And especially if they're on like recurring website care plans that we encourage them to do, they're basically doing exactly that. They're creating a support environment. So what are some of the things that you've found to be really important when dealing with people in a support aspect? Some things that you've learned that you could pass along to some of our viewers here as they deal with their clients?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, one thing that was great that I've learned kind of in my last 4.5 years is that nobody's doing this for fun. Nobody likes nobody started a website to take backups, right? Nobody started a website to make sure it was secure. They started a website to bring something to the rest of the world, whether it's their jewelry or their dentist's office or what it might be. And it took me a little while, but we really try to impress this upon everybody that works at WP Engine, is that when you're talking to somebody, they're usually bringing their life to you. It's something that's really important to them. And while it might just look like text on a screen to us, honestly, it might be what puts food on the table for their family. And so it might be one of the most important things in their life. And that's really easy to forget. It is, especially as a support person, if you talk to 50 people a day. Wow. So kind of keeping that centered, keeping in my mind that, hey, there's an alive person on the other end here who could be going through a lot. You never know. And if their website's down, wow, they could be looking at their income stream being down, right? So it's really to stay alive to their humanity, to understand that if I was in a similar situation where something was putting the ability for me to provide for my family at risk, I would want someone to be so empathetic and quick to help me and do everything they can. So it's really staying alive.
That is such great advice. That is such great advice because it's so true. And especially for us, we build these client relationships. So our experience with our clients for support looks a little bit different because it's a smaller group, it's more personal, but oftentimes we get the elevated emergency voice in these emails. So that's really important to remember. That's really good advice. Well, when it comes to you've done a lot of WordCamp talks about updating
Yeah.
sites,
Yes.
lately too. And I think that's one of our greatest fears when we take care of sites is updating and something going tremendously wrong. And then getting the the person emailing them with the heightened level of emergency.
Yes.
So some quick breakdowns from those talks. Like, what are some things that stand out that really protect against updating a website safely, and some things to take away from the people who listen to the podcast today?
Yeah, definitely. So it's an hour-long talk, so I definitely won't, I won't do it all.
Do it in 10 minutes.
Right? But I think two of probably the biggest things that I feel are takeaways from that talk, and you can catch it on WordPress.tv. Just search my name. It's the only talk I've ever given at WordCamp. But is kind of two things. One, it's actually not that hard to stay very informed and up to date about what's coming in WordPress. And I talk about it in my talk, but it's really just subscribing to the releases section of the WordPress.org blog. And you'll get not a ton of emails. You'll get a few that talk about kind of beta versions. And then you'll get one that talks about a release candidate. And that's the one that you have to watch out for because it'll kind of, a release candidate to WordPress kind of is them saying, hey, we're putting our foot down and we're saying we think we're ready to launch. So everybody tests for bugs, but if we don't find anything, we're going. And so understanding inside of that email and that post what's changed in WordPress, and then applying that back to your site. So let's say they change the way passwords work. Okay, I only have myself and some editors that sign in. Cool. But if you have a membership site, you might have tens of thousands of people that sign in. You might want to pay attention to what is the change that's being made to passwords. And then you kind of translate to, and this is the second point that I like to take away, well, how does this impact my membership plugin? Because really they're the ones that might handle the password portion. And the second point is building a strong relationship with the technology providers, and really that's plugin providers, plugin or theme, that run the critical parts of your site is very important. So if I have a great relationship, with the guys at Gravity Forms, because I'm a charity site and donation form is my number one way to, be successful. I want to have a good relationship and I want to understand and I want to impress upon them that I have chosen your plugin as a critical component for my livelihood. And just like I said before, that will help them be alive to, wow, this person chose us for the most important part of their site. I want to make sure that they are successful with their site. And so I have now opened a good dialogue with the folks at Gravity Forms, and I can say, hey guys, I see that, something is changing in core. Are you guys aware of it? What's your testing schedule looks like? If something's wrong, what kind of time frame might fix it? And just really getting in this dialogue that honestly, a lot of plugin, providers don't have, but I know that they appreciate. I've talked to them, and when someone is invested in the success of their plugin, it only helps them be ready for everyone else. So it's kind of, it's not hard to stay up to date on what's going on with WordPress, and then get connected with the critical technology providers for your site.
That's really important too, because we talk a lot about when people create websites, to sort of niche down, but that can also mean niching down to certain plugins. Sure. Using Gravity Forms as your plugin of choice. And so when you go to update websites or know a big release is coming, it's only Gravity Forms on these sites. So you can take that effort. And I think that's a really good point too, because if we're all proactive, then we're not dealing with the aftermath of like the nightmare of updating everything and letting I always say the worst thing is to have the client find the issue. That's the worst case scenario. It's not the fact it had an issue or that the website broke something. It was the fact the client discovered it. So that's a really good point for being proactive and following both of those and following those certain plugins and really knowing which ones are integral to these sites.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, also when it comes to support, how do you how do you coach your team to deal with nightmare scenarios? How do you coach your team to deal with a really difficult customer?
Yeah. So those are two, they can be the same scenario, but we like them to be two different scenarios, the nightmare and then the really difficult customer. But with the nightmare, I really try to make sure that, our support guys know that they are being looked at as an expert. As someone, maybe the only person who can help with this thing, right? And that's something that that's pretty important, right? That's an amount of trust that isn't trivial. And so I like to help them just kind of stay grounded and remember that we have almost a responsibility to be there for this person at this time, right? And so when you know that, okay, they're looking at me for trust, they're looking at me as maybe the only person that they feel can help with, you have to own the situation. You have to be the really calm, cool, and collected one, and you let them kind of go and talk and explain everything, and you just double check. You make sure, hey, this is what I've heard, and this is what I'm going to do because I heard that. And that way, clear communication allows them to know, even if you're silent for 30 seconds because you're rapidly fixing stuff, they know it's okay. They're silent because they just told me they're going to try and do this. And helping bring that level of calmness to the interaction is good because, as we know, we will match what's going on in a conversation. I remember I was on the phone with my boss not too long ago, and I'm here in my house and no one's here. She's there in our offices in Austin, Texas, and she goes, "Oh, hold on, I need to close the door." And I go, "Okay, no problem." And then I went, "Why did I whisper?" And it's the same thing, right? We match what's brought to our conversation. So if our support people are bringing cool, level head, and very transparent communication, the customer will match that. So that's important to deal with the nightmare, I think, for sure. And then the difficult customer. These are my fave. I'm one of the.
I guess that's why you're director then. Yeah, if these are your fave.
Yes, definitely. These are the ones where, I've been honing those skills for a long time. In the last 4.5 years, I've talked to a lot of them here at WP Engine. With them, a lot of it is to let them talk. They really feel like they have something to say. Otherwise, they wouldn't be difficult and irate, right? If they had nothing to say to you, they wouldn't be crazy about it. So you let them talk. And I'll tell you, this is a secret that really good people who handle crises understand. If you accept the blame, if you say right away, if you've decided, yes, we made a mistake, if you own that from the beginning, it can really diffuse everything. Because once you've told me that you admit that something went wrong and it's not okay, right? That's not okay in my mind. There's nothing really that they can go on about because they've gotten everything they've wanted out of you, that you admitted they're wrong and you admitted that it's not okay. And then you usually tell them what you're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. And so, letting them talk and then really coming out strong with, you're right, we did not meet your expectations, and that is not okay from my mindset or our leadership team here at WP Engine. It really goes a long way to kind of just stop everything. And then you can move forward, because moving forward is the important part. It's not always what happened, right? It's understanding what happened, but it's not that it happened. It's about moving forward. And so there's kind of my trick for dealing with maybe an excited customer.
Excited. I like that. An excited customer. No, that's a really good secret. So I'm glad we got that out of you. I'm glad we got your secret out of you. And I think that's our greatest thing I've always found too when dealing with customers who are particularly difficult is that a lot of times, like you said, they just need to be heard. And then if they just want to know it's not going to happen again. And then you're able to walk back. I've been able to walk back many difficult clients and train them into being pretty agreeable.
Yes, definitely. I mean, resetting expectations is a big part of it, right? Sometimes, a lot of the times, people bring expectations of what WP Engine will do for them that just aren't true. And so I have to admit that, yes, we let you down in this situation. However, I then reset the expectations that this is actually not something we do for you. And then in the future, they won't feel let down, right? But I still acknowledge that, we let you down based on the expectations you have right now. But I'm going to reset those.
That's really good. And that's a really good point. And I think this is a really good podcast and a really good conversation for us web professionals, because I think often people want to do the project for someone and then throw them to the wind and not have anything to do with them, but actually establishing customer relationships and touching base and having that customer sort of be on website care and on good hosting and having update the site for them is actually the best way for them to set up their business. So it's not to be afraid of customer support, not to be afraid of good customer experience. And so I think those are all really, really good tips. Well, then segueing, unless you have something else to say.
No, 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 that was great.
I was going to segue into WordCamp US.
Yes.
So
So
congratulations on
exciting.
winning the bid for Nashville. That must have been,
Thank you.
your doing.
So it was part of my doing. I was lucky enough. So I only moved here to Nashville about a year and a half ago. And as somebody who was already a part of the WordCamp, or sorry, WordPress community, and specifically WordCamps, one of the first things I did when I got here was I want to get involved. I knew that WordCamp Nashville was a thing, so I wanted to get involved. And by that time, they had submitted kind of a small group of people here in town had submitted the original bid. But I was part of the team that the WordCamp Foundation got to come back to and say, okay, we've narrowed it down to two. Now let's get the nitty gritty, because a bid at a high level is a lot of fluff, like we're a great city and there's this and there's this, and of course we can do it in budget. But running a local camp is nothing compared to running a regional camp, And so I was part of the team that it was great, because it was the 2 weeks leading up to WordCamp Nashville. We got told, and we had to go and like meet with all the venues and the vendors and do this and do this and put together a rather large proposal so that the WordCamp Foundation could work with Matt to decide on who was next. And, we were really, really like nervously excited. We had to worry about our camp that we were putting on right then. So it was pretty crazy. But when we were told that we got selected, it was just like dream come true. Be able to bring that part of the community to Nashville and show the community what Nashville is all about, which is what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited to go back. I went there as a kid, so
Yeah.
there's going to be some exciting things, I'm sure, that I can, go with my husband, hop around and see some stuff, sightsee.
Wonderful.
Well, that's exciting. So, how many are you expecting? What kind of, I know you guys haven't released a lot of talks yet, but like what kind of themes do you hope to play into?
Yeah, so definitely. So as far as what we're expecting, we're planning for a camp between 2,000 and 2,500. That's what we're planning for. The venue we're at could hold, tens of thousands. So I'm not worried about having too many for sure. But that's kind of the sweet spot we feel that a regional camp should strive for, to give kind of the best they can back to the community. So we're looking about that. We're in the middle of speaker selection now. Speaker selection closed a few weeks ago, and we're, as the whole organizing team, we're voting and we're discussing and we're looking at everybody and every kind. And we didn't want to limit ourselves, and so at the beginning we didn't say like, hey, we're really looking for this types of talk, or we're doing this. We really wanted to hear from the community based on the survey results from last year from Philadelphia. What did they want to hear? We're keeping that in mind, but we really wanted to say to the community, hey, give us what you have, right? Because from last year to this year, WordPress has evolved. It always does. And so there are things that exist today that didn't even exist a year ago that people couldn't ask for. So we're very open to, what are the hot topics? We have so many great people on the organizing team from all different communities around the country, and they know what's hot for their communities. And so we're getting a lot of great input all around the country on, these are things people want to know about. This is what, is going to make a big difference for people. And honestly, what WP Elevation does is something that I feel is extremely important for this community, because we have tons of people that are freelancers that want to maybe become a small agency, and small agencies that are niche that maybe want to expand, and medium and large, and everything across the gamut. And navigating that crazy gauntlet is, almost impossible if you did it in a vacuum, right? And so people like WP Elevation and the people that have done this, that to me is some of the biggest things we can bring back. So me personally, I'm really excited about hearing from agency owners, hearing from people that have gone through this journey, to help the people who are just starting, help them. Standing on the shoulders of giants is something that I do every day in my career, and I think it's a proven track record. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm also really excited about Headless WordPress. It's a new way to use WordPress, and the sky is the limit. I have a developer on my team at WP Engine that is kind of one of the experts in the community right now in it, and it's very small, it's new, but it's really exciting, and he's doing some really cool things with it. And so I want the whole community to know about that and see, because as WordPress adapts and it becomes more and more something that the enterprise is looking at, I want to make sure that that is known, right? I want the huge companies out there to know that WordPress is really an option. Believe me, whatever you're doing.
Well, that's great, because that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what do you see as the future of WordPress? So tell everyone what Headless WordPress is and what that what that's about.
So all you technical folks out there, don't kill me if I get something wrong. I'm technical enough to be dangerous, but I'm no dev by any means.
That's what Troy says about himself.
Nice. But Headless WordPress is basically the notion that you are using WordPress for its back-end functions and management, right? People have built amazing workflows in the back end of WordPress to publish content, to, we use at WordCamp US, we use it to do all of our payments for vendors, and we've built this great workflow inside of the back of WordPress. So, the sky's almost the limit for what you can do in the back end, and you can control that. And so that's kind of the body of WordPress, if you would. The head of WordPress is the front end that we all know, the theme, right, the plugins and everything. But what if you use something like Angular to create a site that uses the WordPress REST API to show everything? And instead of needing to load theme files and plugins, what if you built everything in Angular? You can build an amazing site that is basically as fast as just running straight HTML, and everything's there. And I've seen it in action. We've built internally some great stuff. We've built some BI systems around using Headless WordPress, which is super cool. Like, I don't hear a lot of, I built a business intelligence tool, inside of WordPress. So really cool stuff. That's what Headless is. It's the ability to build kind of anything on top of what WordPress has created as a great backend.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, that's a huge portion of what a lot of our members do too, with like project management, like using it for project management and stuff. Yes. Well, I love exciting new things, and I love the WordPress community embracing that, because you see it spans the gamut from a blog user to someone using it in that way. And that's what I'm always surprised about when I go to WordCamps, especially WordCamp US, like the big ones, is how many people, how different everyone's using WordPress, and how many people I'm seeing who are using it within the last year, especially professionals and developers and designers who are using it within the last year are there at WordCamp US. And I'm always surprised by that, just using it, and they've built a couple websites, and here they are at WordCamp. So it's great to hear what you're putting together for Nashville, and it'll be really neat to see, what kind of things come out of that. I think it really is a nice place to direct people to when they are getting started,
Yes. Oh, that's one of my favorite things about kind of being involved in WordCamp US is, I think there's a bit of a stigma that WordCamp US is only for, the professionals, the people who have been doing it. But you're so right. People that just got involved in the last year, this is an amazing place to go to understand what the community and industry is trending towards, what kind of things are out there to make you better, to learn about, and then not to mention the people you meet, right? Just the people is my favorite part about the WordCamp community for sure. But meeting all of them, there's just so much. And this year, I'm excited. We're bringing a new thing to WordCamp US. We're calling it the Community Bazaar. And what we're doing is, we just announced it like last week or the week before, but what we're doing is we're allowing local communities inside of North America and US to come and represent themselves and talk about what they're doing. And so there will be booths for communities, and it's free, right? This is what we're doing. We're allowing them to interact with, the US, the North American, the worldwide community that we bring to WordCamp US, and showcase their communities so that you, as someone, who maybe you don't even have a meetup in your town, you can go and see, wow, look at what WordPress Orange County is doing, right? Look at how they've built such an amazing meetup. And, in my opinion, WordCamp Orange County is one of the best in the country as far as local camps. And you can say, wow, look at what they did. We could do something like that. And you can get inspired to build the rest of the community where you are.
I love that. Yeah. It's good. It is really good, because the smaller you make those communities, the more personal you make them, the stronger the whole WordPress community is as a whole.
Yeah.
Well, Dustin, you gave us some good stuff. I'm so
I'm
thankful
happy.
for you being on the
Thank
podcast
you.
today. And
I'm very happy.
I mean, this is an obvious question. Where can people go to learn more about WP Engine?
Yeah, so you can go to wpengine.com and just kind of learn about what we do and what we're trying to do for the WordPress community. It's very excited. And then definitely go to the WordCamp US site and buy some tickets for WordCamp US this year.
Awesome. We'll see you there.
Right.
Thanks.
All righty.
A huge thank you to Dustin for joining us on the podcast today. I think no one should be afraid of providing a great customer experience to their clients after that and all the secrets we've learned. And make sure you get your ticket for the upcoming WordCamp US if you're going to be in town. It sounds like it's going to be a great event. So check us out on the next podcast. Make sure to rate this podcast, like it, share it with your friends. And until then, go elevate.